U.S. Justice Department is reportedly preparing to indict aging Cuban leader Raul Castro in the coming days over the shooting down of 2 aircraft 3 decades ago. The reported charges, which would need to be approved by a U.S. grand jury, emerged as the director of the CIA traveled to Cuba to meet officials in Havana.
At least 8 people were killed and 25 others injured after a train collision triggered a fire that engulfed a public bus in Bangkok on Saturday, rescue officials and police said firefighters and rescue crews were dispatched as flames engulfed the bus and nearby vehicles, they said, adding the crash involved a train, the bus, cars and motorcycles.
A petition has been filed in the Lahore High Court, LHC, challenging the sharp increase in fees charged by private medical colleges across Punjab. Punjab Assembly member Mohammad Ejaz Shafi and other petitioners filed the plea against the Pakistan Medical and Dental Council, PMDC, and several private medical colleges, according to reports aired by 24 News HD TV.
A young motorcyclist was injured after a stray kite string slit his neck near the Muslim town bridge in Lahore, prompting swift action from Lahore police. According to the police spokesperson, the victim, identified as Abu Bakr, was riding his motorcycle when a cut kite string suddenly wrapped around his neck, leaving him injured. He was immediately shifted to Mayo Hospital, where doctors said his condition is now out of danger.
A sharp rise in divorce and cooler cases has been reported in Islamabad, with lawyers and court sources pointing to unemployment and drug abuse as major factors behind the growing trend. According to available details, family courts in the federal capital are now receiving more than 300 new cases daily, showing an increase in matrimonial disputes and maintenance-related litigation. Saudi Arabia's Ministry of Interior has issued important guidelines for pilgrims ahead of Hajj 2026, aimed at ensuring their safety, comfort and smooth movement during the pilgrimage. According to the Saudi press agency, the ministry said the instructions are designed to make the Hajj journey easier and more organized so pilgrims can perform their religious duties peacefully and in accordance with official regulations. The federal government has decided to delay a planned increase in taxes on fertilizer and pesticides, offering temporary relief to the agriculture sector. According to the latest development, the government has formally informed the IMF in writing that it is putting off the proposed tax hike for now. Hamas's armed wing chief Ezzedine al-Haddad was killed in an Israeli strike in Gaza the previous day. The Israeli military and Hamas confirmed on Saturday. The Israeli military and intelligence services have waged an extensive campaign targeting the group's senior political leaders and commanders in Gaza and across the region.
Israel has launched another series of airstrikes on southern Lebanon, a day after the two countries agreed to extend a ceasefire deal for a further 45 days following talks in Washington, although this ceasefire has never been observed in practice. Lebanon's state-run national news agency reported strikes on at least 5 villages in the south on Saturday, while the Israeli army issued new forced displacement orders for 9 villages in southern Lebanon near Sidon and Nabati, including Kakayet al-Snoba, Kauthariet al-Sayad, al-Marwaniya, al-Ghassaniya and more. For travellers, it's easy to literally look down on Kansas City, Missouri. In the heart of the United States Midwest, it represents the definition of flyover country for those on their way to more famous locales. That perspective is about to change as this summer, the attention of the sporting world lands on Kansas City, along with hundreds of thousands of football fans.
At least 8 people have been killed and 25 others injured after a train crashed into a public bus in Thailand's capital. Flames engulfed the bus and nearby vehicles near an airport rail link station in the centre of Bangkok on Saturday afternoon, Thai media reported.
The Senate of Pakistan on Friday passed the Free and Compulsory Education Amendment Bill 2026, making computer science and coding mandatory subjects in schools from elementary to high school level. The bill was presented during a Senate session chaired by Senator Sherry Rehman and aims to modernize Pakistan's education system by integrating digital literacy and programming skills into the national curriculum.
Microsoft Edge will no longer load all saved passwords into memory in plain text when the browser starts. The development is notable because Microsoft continues to say the existing behaviour does not cross a security boundary.
Bilawal Bhutto Zardari on Friday inaugurated 11 public welfare and healthcare projects in Balochistan, including the province's first air ambulance service and a modern trauma centre in Quetta. The projects launched by the Balochistan government aim to improve emergency care and expand healthcare access across the province.
The Sindh government has started the recruitment process for 3 special grade positions for Chief Minister Murad Ali Shah's helicopter, including 2 pilots and 1 assistant deputy chief engineer. According to the details, applications have been invited from candidates with the required qualifications and experience, who have been asked to apply within 15 days.
A looming 18-day strike at South Korean chip giant Samsung that has triggered worries within the government, rattled foreign investors and threatened global supply chains rests on one crucial question: who should share in the spoils of the AI boom? More than 45,000 workers are threatening to stage the largest strike in the conglomerate's history from May 21, reducing production of memory chips that are crucial components in AI data centers, smartphones and laptops, as Samsung and its unions struggle to find a compromise over bonus payouts.
As United States President Donald Trump showered at praise on his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping on Friday, the CEOs of several US aviation, commodities, technology, and finance conglomerates look to advance their business interests by meeting the heads of powerful Chinese regulators and ministries. These include GE Aerospace, Boeing, Qualcomm, Cargill, Visa, Goldman Sachs and Citigroup, who held talks with the leading officials of Chinese government agencies such as the Commerce Ministry, State Planner, Securities Regulator and Central Bank, according to official government statements and state-backed media reports published on Friday and Saturday. Soaring diesel prices since the onset of the Iran war are draining already tight US school district budgets, making it more expensive to bus students and run generators in a shock officials say they will not be able to afford for long. School districts from Yakima, Washington to Waco, Texas are tapping emergency funding reserves to keep buses running on. In remote Alaska, officials are scrambling to secure enough fuel to keep the lights on, according to Reuters interviews. Jabalia, Gaza. Inside his partially destroyed home in the Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza, 85-year-old Abdelmadi al-Wahidi sits beside a small fire brewing coffee, staring at what remains of a life, now surrounded by rubble. Next to him sits his wife Aziza, also in her 80s, whom he married 6 decades ago. Despite years of trying, the couple was never able to have children.
An armed Israeli settler blindfolded and detained a Palestinian man near the village of Beit Iksa in the occupied West Bank, dragging him onto a road as Israeli forces stood nearby. The Palestinian farmer was reportedly trying to reach his land before he was captured. Google has announced a major Android Auto update that changes how the platform looks and works on vehicle screens. The update brings a redesigned interface, better screen support, new widgets, immersive navigation in Google Maps, YouTube video playback, Dolby Atmos support. The changes put Android Auto in closer competition with Apple CarPlay as automakers continue to rely more heavily on software inside modern vehicles, software inside models.
Google is rolling out a new quick share feature that lets Android users send files to iPhones, iPads, and Macs through a QR code. The feature gives Android users another way to share files with Apple devices if their phone does not yet support Quick Share's AirDrop compatibility. Google's support page says users can send content to an iPhone, iPad, or macOS device with a QR code, with both devices needing internet access for the transfer.
Federal Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi on Friday said the government was eager to see the early launch of direct flights between Pakistan and the United States. The remarks came during a meeting with US Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for South and Central Asian Affairs Paul Kapoor and US Chargé d'Affaires Natalie Baker, according to an official statement.
The Pakistan Sports Board, PSB, has launched immediate administrative reforms aimed at improving sports governance and facilitating athletes and national sports federations across the country. On his first day after assuming additional charge as Director General of the PSB, Secretary of the Inter-Provincial Coordination, IFC, Division Mohyuddin Ahmad Wani directed officials to simplify and shorten the affiliation pro forma for national sports federations. There are two kinds of real estate. The first is built to be sold.
Taiwan's government pressed the case on Saturday for US arms supplies, saying they are based on US law and serve as a shared deterrent to regional threats. After US President Donald Trump said he had not decided on future sales, despite a lack of formal diplomatic ties, the United States is the most important international backer for democratically governed Taiwan, which China claims as its territory. Washington is bound by the Taiwan Relations Act to provide weapons to the island.
A lot of jobs need you to study something or the other before trying your hand at the trade. Doctors need to study medicine, engineers need to study engineering, so it's natural to assume actors and singers would study something at least adjacent to their work. While that's true in some cases, Pakistani celebrities know it isn't a rule, so many of them have some really interesting backup careers. So, without further ado, here are some Pakistani stars and what they'd be doing if they weren't in show's business.
Jesus Armas sips coffee with his partner in a sidewalk cafe. Maria Perez takes part in a public protest. Melva Vasquez holds up enlarged photos of her son and her daughter outside a prison where political opponents are held. These seemingly ordinary actions were all but unthinkable just a few months ago under the rule of Nicolás Maduro in Venezuela.
When Raúl Castro, the brother of the late Fidel Castro, resigned in 2021 as first secretary of the Communist Party of Cuba, the highest position of power on the island, it marked the end of was passed to Miguel Díaz-Canel. But for many Cubans, Raúl has continued to exercise a clonsai, what they consider a kind of power in the shadows, as they claim his presence and influence in the country's politics remain ever present.
Russia's President Vladimir Putin will pay an official visit to China from May 19 to 20. The Kremlin has announced. Putin and his Chinese counterpart, President Xi Jinping, plan to further strengthen the comprehensive partnership and strategic cooperation between Moscow and Beijing, the Kremlin said in a statement.